Right, Chelsea Football Club survive an early scare to win against Lincoln City 2-1 in the League Cup tonight. But I've got to be honest with you, man. I've come away from that game very, very concerned and with a lot of issues that I actually do think that we need to address ASAP. So we will get into all of it. We'll review the game and I will tell you the key points that we need to focus on off the back of that performance going forward. But people, before we get into all that, welcome back to the Joey Knight podcast. If you are new around here, if you like the content and you want to see more from myself, please hit the subscribe button, hit a like on the video, and I have been getting told week in, week out by Joshua Veste that you guys need to hype the video. I've got no idea either, but apparently it works really well. So hit the hype button on the video. Let's get into the match. Now, Chelsea had a really underwhelming start to this one. I understand that in cup fixtures like this, and I say it all the time, every season when we play a lower league team, it is their cup final. It might be the third round for us, but it is their cup final. And when you look at Lincoln Town themselves, obviously they haven't played Chelsea since, I think, before the First World War or something like that. The fans will bang up for it. For a side that are in the third division of English football, they had quite a big ground, quite a big following themselves. A 10,000 capacity, that's more, I think, than Luton had when they were playing in the Premier League. I think they had to expand on that, and the fans from Lincoln were really, really good. Before I even get into it, I actually want to give a round of applause to Lincoln City, because I had no idea about them. I had to do a little bit of research into them and whatnot, and off the back of what I saw tonight, I think they'll push for promotion this season. Now, literally, a minute into the game, you can see what Lincoln are doing. And what Lincoln were doing was understanding that, okay, we haven't got the talent, we haven't got the technical ability, perhaps, and we might not have the star-studded names, or definitely don't have the star-studded names that Chelsea have. But what we can do is we can be rough with them, we can be ready with them, we can be physical. And I think that they started exposing that from literally the first minute of the game. The long throw-ins were Premier League vibes, Stoke-esque, Rory Delap vibes. The long throw-ins were giving us serious problems. They were loading up the box. And off the back of one of those throw-ins, it was around 5 minutes into the game, there's a little bit of a scramble in the box. The ball ends up falling to one of the Lincoln players. Forgive me, I don't know his name. But he slipped through a lovely little outside of the foot pass. The sort of thing that if you see in the Premier League, someone do it for Man City, someone do it for Chelsea even, someone do it for Arsenal. You're probably singing from the rooftops about it and saying that was a great little assist. And it nearly was an assist, because it's Lewis Motsma, I believe, who hits the post. Beats Jorgensen, hits the post. Chelsea very, very lucky, to be honest, in my opinion, not to go one down there. In the meantime, Jorgensen, who we're going to have a serious chat about at the end of this game, he comes out recklessly for balls all the time. At the minute, I'm seeing it time in, time out from him, and he does so once again, and in doing so, he punches Wesley Fofana straight in the face. Now, he was lucky there, because when a goalkeeper comes out with that sort of force and that sort of ambition to win the ball, to collide into your defender with the fist, by the way, he's not trying to palm it away, he's punching it away. He punched Wesley Fofana in the face. Wesley Fofana's just come back from injury. We really need Wesley Fofana at this moment in time, and there was a delay in play for a good 5 minutes or so when Wesley Fofana was down. Eventually he was all right and he was able to continue, but it took about, I would say, 10 minutes for Chelsea to really settle in to this game. And when I say settle in, I'm not necessarily saying we had the better of chances or anything like that, but just to start to get the possession. And this came around the 15-minute mark because of obviously that 5-minute delay. And that's when we started springing passes together. We started getting possession. I felt like at times we were trying to be a little bit too clever for our own good. I felt like some of the back heels, some of the intricate passing that we were trying to play wasn't as necessary. I thought there were easier balls on. Speaking of easier balls on, we're going to speak about what led to the goal in a minute. But yeah, all of a sudden we were playing a little bit better, but it wasn't plain sailing. And Lincoln were clever. They were pressing well. We may have had more possession, but when they had the possession in that first half, they were using it way better than when we had it. And Lincoln really, really exposed our lack of aerial ability, in my opinion, from corners, from throw-ins, from set pieces. Not just the fact that we weren't able to meet headers there, but also the fact of our positioning, our judgment, no real vocal leaders in that backline tonight. I know I wasn't in the stadium, people, and it's hard to tell. I mean, you can probably look by seeing at me, by looking at me. Most of you lot probably think I'm high or something right now. I'm definitely not. I'm sleep deprived. I've had no sleep over the last 48 hours or something like that, and I've still stayed up to watch this game, so if that's not a reason to smash a like on the video, not only watch the game, I'd always watch the game, but to get a review out for you guys, then I don't know what is. But Lincoln exposed us, and I feel like there's going to be teams like, Arsenal, set piece specialists in the Premier League. Crystal Palace scored quite a few last season. I believe Aston Villa scored quite a few last season, that will look at that and they will think, right, we can really, really exploit Chelsea in those areas. And I understand that it wasn't a full-strength Chelsea team, but at the same time, organisation's organisation, and it's something that we're really lacking at the back at this moment in time. And it doesn't help when Jorgensen commits. More often than not, he's getting it wrong. He's getting it wrong when he commits. Coming out, diving for balls and getting nowhere near it, putting the safety of his own players on the line, and also putting the safety of us being able to have 11 players again on the field on the line. Because when you come out diving like that, like he did on multiple occasions today, and I'll put it out there now, I think Jorgensen was probably our worst player today. I think he had a really bad match today. We'll speak about that, and you lot will discuss that in the comment section below. Not only are you putting your defenders on the line, you're putting your own health on the line, which means that, we may have had to have made a switch at some point when he comes out diving for these if he injured himself. But more importantly than that, to me, is giving away penalties, injuring other people. He's literally in goal off the back of a Sanchez mistake. And so many people here said to me, would you start Jorgensen in the following match? And before the match, I said no. Because sometimes it's pick your poison, and that sounds really disrespectful, I think, at times, about both goalkeepers, Jorgensen and Robert Sanchez. But let's be honest, we're Chelsea Football Club, and neither of those two goalkeepers are goalkeepers to the standard of what we have had in the past, and that's just calling it for what it is. But Robert Sanchez, in my opinion, is 2 or 3 levels above Philip Jorgensen at this moment in time. And on the 41st minute mark, like a few of you, to be fair, actually predicted in the comments, Lincoln did take the lead through Rob Street. And once again, much like in the game against Man United, much like multiple times against Bayern Munich, it was our own doing. Enzo Fernandez and Trevor Chalobah getting a bit of a mix-up. And I'd love to hear your guys' opinions on whose fault it actually was. I believe that the blame lies with both, but it lies more heavily with Enzo Fernandez, to be honest, because Trevor Chalobah should definitely be getting to that ball. Anyone that didn't see it, what happens? Enzo Fernandez picks up the ball. Bearing in mind, Enzo Fernandez, I'm not going to even mention his price tag. I'm just going to say he is our deep line playmaker. He picks it up deep line. Now, if playmaking is doing a sideways pass, and when you're a midfielder and that sideways pass is to a defender, you could even kind of say maybe a backwards pass. When he does that to Trevor Chalobah, and Trevor Chalobah's got, 2, 3 Lincoln players around him? I don't know, man. In that situation, just what my Sunday league coach used to say to me was come into my mind. If in doubt, you know the rest of it. If in doubt, put it out, mate. Put it out. Do something with it. Progress it. Put it forward. Give Tyreek George something to at least run onto, and maybe then we could force a throw-in or something like that. Instead, Enzo Fernandez tries to be clever. He tries to loop a ball over the top to Trevor Chalobah. Now, obviously, listen, Trevor Chalobah should have done better. I know a lot of you guys know that I love Trev, and you'll feel that I'm sticking up for him here. I'm not. He should have done way better. Trevor Chalobah should have been first to that ball. At the same time, I do think that Trevor Chalobah was caught by surprise. I don't think he expected that ball from Enzo Fernandez, because I didn't expect that ball from Enzo Fernandez. It was a silly ball to play, a needless ball to play, and therefore, straight away, it's nicked off him. It's put on, as I say, to the Lincoln forward, and he converts past Jorgensen. Nothing Jorgensen can do about it, to be honest. Rob Street scores the goal, and it will be a goal that, fair play to him, like, he'll remember that goal for the rest of his career, potentially, unless he goes on to bigger and better things. I don't know. I don't even know what age he is, so how would I know? But either way, a bad moment for Chalobah, but risky, unambitious, and downright stupid from Enzo Fernandez in that moment to put him in that position to be able to make that mistake, which was really, really frustrating for me. And when we went in when we went in, people, I'm like, honestly, the second child's so hard, man. It's so hard. Like, it's so hard, people. You don't get no sleep. Not if you're helping out and, sharing the load sort of thing. But either way, we're cracking on. Don't worry about that. Smash a like on the video. Either way, when we went in 1-0 down at halftime, I wasn't necessarily worried, because I've seen good responses from Enzo Maresca's halftime team talks more often than not. And I tell you what, if I'm Enzo Maresca, I'd have given them boys a thorough bollocking at half time, and it feels like he probably did, because you see we came out for that second half and realistically flipped the game on its head within a matter of minutes. There was no changes at half time, but ultimately they weren't necessary, because 2 minutes in, the man who was set to leave Chelsea Football Club this summer, we were trying to get rid of him. I understand it might have been something to do with balancing the books and whatnot, but Tyrick George comes to the rescue. Gittins, by this point, has swapped over wings with Garnacho. So Gittins originally starting on the right wing, Garnacho starting on the left wing. They swapped over, I think, about half hour into the game, maybe. I think it was because that a lot of the play was going up the right-hand side, with Malo Gusto being the more creative and more attacking out of him and Hato, and therefore a lot more of the ball was going to Gittins. Now, Gittins' dribbling ability is something that we'll get onto. We'll speak about him individually, but realistically, it should have been going to Garnacho, because when Garnacho was getting the ball, he was at least making things happen. He was winning fouls. He was drawing players out, and obviously, you got to look at matches like this, and I know that people go, oh, look how Chelsea have fallen and stuff like this. But yeah, if we can get our opposition down to 10 men, then I'd want to be doing it. And Garnacho is a man that can win fouls and can win free kicks in dangerous areas. So I'm not surprised that Enzo Maresca swapped them on the flanks. But after doing that, it's Gittins that I think attempts the pass through from the left-hand side. It ricochets off a couple of players, and then Tyrick George just thinks, fuck this, and just puts his laces through it. Absolutely smashes the granny out of that one. In, off of the post. The Lincoln goalkeeper had no chance against that one. A really, really fine finish from Tyrick George. And Tyrick George showing that he can be a very impactful player for us. He showed that last season. He's showing that now this season. But my worry is for Tyrick George, when he goes on in these games and shows it, and obviously he started this game, he came off around the hour mark, but when he shows that quality in these games, a player like Tyrick George will be looking at a move. He will be looking at a move if he's not getting regular minutes, because, okay, you might not be starting for Chelsea, but I think you can start for, Brighton. I think you'd be starting for Brentford. I think you'd be starting for loads more clubs. And I don't even know if you'd be starting through the middle, how Enzo Maresca is deploying him. Originally, I thought Tyrick George was a winger, to be honest. And just seconds after that, he turns from goal scorer to goal creator when him and Buonanotte, who was playing in the number 10 role today, have a fine little bit of link-up play. Obviously, a couple of 1-2s in there. Tyreek George shielding the ball well, using his power well against a side that, as I say, physically, without the likes of Caicedo, Cucurella until later on in the game, were dominating us a little bit physically. Tyreek George did really well to keep his man off. There could be an argument, I would say, whether the Lincoln defence were at fault, whether Buonanotte got through a little bit too easily, but at the same time, this is a third-tier team we're playing here. So I wouldn't stick the knife in or be harsh on Lincoln at all. I thought Lincoln were brilliant, to be honest. And I'll put it out there now. I thought Lincoln were brilliant in this match. I thought they were really, really good. I still think Chelsea were the better side. But at the same time, it's not nothing. It's not a flex, is it? It's not a flex being the better side against Lincoln. Buonanotte squeezes that one through and makes it 2-1 to Chelsea. I don't want to go on too much about the rest of the game. There was half chances. We improved, obviously, when Cucurella, Pedro Neto, a few of our senior players came onto the pitch. But generally, not good enough. Not good enough, in my opinion. And I'm a positive Chelsea fan, man. I'm one that likes to spread the positivity. I like to find the good in things. And there will be times when I find the good in things in this match. But at the same time as that, I've got to call it for what it is. I look at Brighton tonight and they went out there and smashed their opponents. It was 5-0 last time I checked. But at the same time, as saying that, what I will say is the holders of this cup are Newcastle. Yeah. Newcastle, I think, were in the second round, I believe. I know the first round of the League Cup last season, Newcastle drew their first game against Nottingham Forest. That one went to penalties. Their second game, and I take a little bit of an interest in this because Newcastle are a club that I've got a little bit of affinity with through my relationship with Brian. And not only that, I live very close to Wimbledon. So AFC Wimbledon was who Newcastle played at this stage last season. They only beat them by a 1-goal margin, and that was at St James's Park. So just, the fact that we've only beaten lower level opposition by a 1-goal margin, I don't think it's damning, but I think with the context of what's going on at the minute, it's not the best look. It's not the best look. Jorgensen, not good enough for me. Shouldn't be backup goalkeeper for me. And people are thinking, I'm being really reactionary here. I'm not just rating that off one match. I understand that a lot of people felt that Jorgensen was good in the Conference League games last season. I think that Lincoln City tonight showed that they were a lot better than a lot of the teams that Jorgensen looked good against in the Conference League last season. So I don't think that I want to see him in the next round if it's not Robert Sanchez. I think I'd like to see Slanina in there, given a chance. And let's be honest, tonight, right, I don't know whether Enzo Maresca got tactics right, got tactics wrong. Ultimately, I think that Enzo Maresca speaks a lot about the fact that he doesn't look at the game ahead, and he does look at that game individually, but I don't believe him. I do think he looks at the game ahead. Of course you do. I do that. I think that most people with a brain in their head would understand that we need to be looking at our next fixture rather than, cashing all our bets on this Lincoln match and starting with a star-studded lineup. However, I do think that when we progress into the next stages of this, Jorgensen's not the man I want to see. It's Slanina I want to see between the sticks there. And like I said, teams that are good at set pieces and that, they're going to look at that match tonight and think, right, Chelsea are gettable. And we are at this moment in time. The defence needs sorting out. And the defence is something that can be coached. Like, I've heard so many times, people saying, we can't now, the transfer window's over, but we should recall this player. We should go and get this player when the January transfer window opens. And look, I'm not against it. I'd like to sign a central defender. A Mark Gahey, for example. We could probably get him on a free at the end of the season, but we could definitely get him in January either way, because we might be able to put up a little bit of a fee for him or something like that. But we need leaders in defence. So Thiago Silva in defence would have sorted those problems out like that tonight. And we haven't got that at this moment in time. And ultimately, I'd say that individual quality saved us tonight rather than tactics, rather than style of play or anything like that. Because if you look at the 2 goals, there were 2 moments of individual quality. And that's not to say that Chelsea didn't improve, but at the same time, no real Chelsea fan that has experienced the highs that I have supporting my club will sit there and say they didn't expect us to improve or give us too much of a pat on the back for doing so. I want to speak on a few players. Enzo Fernandez, he's been a little bit underwhelming for a couple of games now. I'm never going to write Enzo Fernandez off of the back of a couple of games, because there was a point when I was thinking, do you know what, Enzo Fernandez isn't really doing it for me, and that was under Pochettino. And I thought that last season under Maresca, he levelled up massively, formed a really good partnership with Caicedo, and he's done really good things. So listen, I've got to give him the grace that I would a player that is performing if he went through a couple of bad matches, i.e. Cole Palmer, a Caicedo, a Cucurella. But at the same time, one thing I do know is Enzo Fernandez needs to improve. Otherwise, Andre Santos is going to be knocking very, very hardly at that door. Now, Jamie Gittins tonight got a start. We've been wanting to see him have an opportunity, wanting to see him have a chance to be able to run at men, show that dribbling ability, and he did show that dribbling ability, but he didn't really show an end product ability with it. I didn't think the balls into the box from him were great. I didn't think the shots that he took, I'm sure he took a shot, was great. At the same time as that, I don't know, it's a hard one to call it on. Garnacho is the player that stood out to me tonight as someone that I think will definitely at this moment in time be ahead of Jamie Gittins in the in the thoughts of Enzo Maresca and in the pecking order. Really, I think it's nailed down that Pedro Neto needs to be a starter for us. I think that's undeniable, and I think that even in the small moment you saw tonight, you see that is very much something that's important for us, having Pedro Neto there. I would like to see Esteval there, but at the same time, Garnacho, whoever you have there, I think Garnacho and Esteval are both ahead of Jamie Gittins at this moment in time. Other than that, it is what it is, really, people. Like, it is what it is. It's a game. We got the win. That's the most important thing. We crack on now. But there's one word, and one word only, and it's improvement. Improvement is what is needed, and it's needed quick. It's needed before the weekend, because if we play like that, we're not going to win at the weekend. Do you know what I mean? And if we do, we might have been a little bit lucky to win at the weekend. But I do think that we will improve. I do still have faith in this team. I do believe in this team. I think we're going through a hard moment. I think we've played a lot of football. I think there's a lot of leggy players out there. But I do think they'll get their second wind. I think we'll start to see some really good things from this Chelsea side. But I think that Enzo Maresca now needs to roll the dice a bit. He needs to be chucking Esteval in there from the start. This weekend coming, letting him shine, letting him have his moment, because I'm sure he is capable of doing so. Obviously fielding a stronger team, and all in all, ultimately the only thing you can hope for to come away from a tie like this is to win the game. So I'm not delighted at what I saw tonight. I actually thought it was an alright match to watch, to be fair. It was an old school match. It had an old school feel to it. I liked the no VAR. That was good. I thought the match flowed a little bit better. But ultimately, Chelsea need to be better than that. But like I say, Newcastle needed to be better than they were against AFC Wimbledon when they played them at home last season at the same stage, and they were. They went on to lift the cup and do so in good fashion, knocking big teams out in the process. So, am I writing off Chelsea's possibility to do it off the back of tonight? No, I'm not. But we do need to improve. People, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I will see you all in the next one. Time to get some sleep.